Alright, gang. I just saw a movie recently and I loved it. I can't stop thinking about it. I keep telling my friends about it, but I want to tell you about it as well because I think you're going to like it a lot. I feel like most of you that are watching this, if you are subscribed or have happened upon my channel, are here because you are a fan of Haruki Murakami. Welcome, weirdos. And with that in mind, there's a lot of movies that you might like if you're a Haruki Murakami fan, but the one that I just watched is called Perfect Days. It's by Wim Wenders, who is a German filmmaker, but come to find out, this movie is in Japanese, set in Japan, set in Tokyo specifically. The film follows a man by the name of Hirayama, and he lives a really simple existence. He is a toilet cleaner. He cleans public toilets in and around Shibuya, I think. Is that right? Yes, Shibuya Ward is where he cleans toilets. And the movie on its surface, I think, could be called boring or uninteresting if you have a unrefined palate or just a general impatience with like the movies that you're watching. Like if you're someone who just wants to see Transformers crashing into each other, or like people shooting each other, or like, I don't know, if you're like a big Marvel movie fan or something, like maybe this isn't for you, but you should still watch it anyway, honestly. I think there's a lot of value in slower, quieter movies, and this is very slow and very quiet, and I love it. It's so up my alley. It's unbelievable. It's like they kind of made the movie for me in a way. But anyway, the main character, Hirayama, is a toilet cleaner in Tokyo, and the first like 45 minutes of this film is just him waking up and going about his day in Tokyo. So he gets up, he lives in a little flat, little small residence, and like he gets up and he brushes his teeth, and he puts his clothes on, and he opens the door, and he looks outside, and he's looking up at the sky and just thinking like, wow, what a beautiful day. And then he goes to the vending machine, he gets his little coffee, gets in his van, and drives over to the first like site that he's going to clean up, basically. And from that point on, the next 45 minutes are essentially just him like going about his day, cleaning toilets, interacting with the public. You get to meet his kind of shithead coworker that he works with, who's this young guy. And I should say too, the protagonist of this film, Hirayama, is probably like in his 50s, I would guess. He lives alone. He just lives kind of a solitary lifestyle. And I think that's a really interesting choice for like the lead in a movie, is just like some quiet 50-year-old dude who cleans toilets. It's pretty unconventional in a lot of ways. And so you see him just go about his day. He gets off work, he goes home. He has his little routine where he, gets ready for bed. He reads a little bit, packs it in, and gets up the next day ready to go at it again. Some other things to note about Hirayama is that he sort of lives in antiquity a little bit. He carries around a film camera with him everywhere he goes, and he sits at this park bench and he looks up at the trees and he snaps photos, and he goes and gets them developed at a little photo shop and takes them home and sorts through them, which ones are good, which ones are bad. He also is really interested in like Western music, like from the United States and England, from like the 60s and 70s. And he listens to all of his music on cassette tapes too, which sort of becomes, there's a little kind of side plot that happens later in the movie that has to do with those cassette tapes. And so the rest of the movie is him sort of like going through this cycle over and over again, and there's a couple challenges that come up, right? Like his like shithead coworker drags him into these like girl problems that he's having. At one point his niece comes from out of town as a surprise to like stay with him, and then he's hanging out with her for a little bit. And I should mention too that like this entire time that you're seeing him go through all this stuff, he is saying almost nothing. I think like the amount of dialogue he has in this movie is probably just a couple pages. It's really sparse. And you would think, why do I want to watch this? Why do I want to watch someone clean toilets for more than 2 hours? I know when I was, talking to someone about this movie, they were like, so clearly this has got to be a short one, right? It's like, nope. This is a movie that is over 2 hours long, and I wasn't bored for a single second of it. I was just so in it. It was unbelievable. But the reason you want to watch this movie is because it's just beautiful. It's definitely a character study of like a very simple guy leading a simple existence. The nice thing about this character is he is sort of like taking in the beauty of everything around him, even just in the mundane day-to-day stuff that's going on in his life. And in the society that we live in, where we're like constantly on our phones and, you know, just scrolling and looking from like one thing to the next, like this guy is just like stepping out of his door and staring at the sky a lot, and he's like getting by just fine. The way this movie is shot is just mesmerizingly amazing. It's all in 4:3 aspect ratio, so it's kind of like a little box on your screen. All the colors are just amazing, especially like the shots where he's just out in public in nature in the sunshine. Like, I've always wanted to visit Tokyo, but now like I really want to visit Tokyo more so than ever. And so in a world where we're used to just entertainment being this giant like kind of exploding thing all the time, it's really a great alternative to watch a movie about a guy just living his life. And it's still so interesting, like the little predicaments that he gets into because of the people that are around him. It's sort of alluded to that something may have happened to him, or that he may have had like a wife at some point, or, you know, something that has led him to this point. Like most people in their 50s are probably not cleaning toilets for a living, but he is, and it's like, why is that? You learn that he has sort of like a strained relationship with part of his family. They don't really give you like a whole lot in terms of his backstory, and so it sort of leaves it to the imagination of like, what happened? How did this person end up in this place? And also like, how is this person thriving and surviving under these circumstances? I don't think most of us would want to be living alone in Tokyo cleaning toilets. But after watching this movie, I'm like, would it be that bad? Like, could I get rid of all this extraneous stuff that I have in my life and go live a simple existence like that? And would it be better than what I have now? You know, this movie's set in present day. It's not like this guy is listening to cassette tapes and using a Polaroid camera in 1995 like he's doing it in 2023. And there's something super appealing about it. I feel like if I watched this type of movie more often, I might feel more grounded. And I think really what that says about me is like, I need to just do the things that he's doing a little bit more. I feel like I need to put my phone away. I need to just exist in nature and listen to the things that are going on around me and take it all in. As the movie progresses, you do see him sort of go from someone who is like content into how their life is to someone who is handling like a lot of complex emotions about it, and that's super interesting too. I think that makes the movie a lot more compelling if this was just him like hunky-dory cleaning toilets or whatever. But yeah, I think it's totally worth your time. I think the reason I'm recommending it to anyone who is a fan of Haruki Murakami is that A, it's set in Japan, in Tokyo. Most of Haruki Murakami's novels are set at least partially in Japan. And as a Westerner myself who has never been there, this was a really cool chance to like see what it's like. Another reason I think this is good for Murakami fans is because the protagonist, Hirayama, is sort of like equally obsessed with Western culture in the way that Murakami and the protagonists in his books are. You know, listening to old like rock and roll and jazz cassette tapes, living alone and sort of like existing in his head a lot of the time. And I think sort of like the third reason I can recommend this to Murakami fans is that not a whole lot happens, and I think that's kind of the way a lot of Haruki Murakami's books come off if you're reading them just at like a surface level. Like if you pick up Wind Up Bird Chronicle or something like that and you're expecting like a linear like A to B to C, you know, like build up, plot, conclusion, whatever, like you're gonna come away from it a little confused and maybe disappointed. But much like Murakami's books, if you come into this movie with the expectation that you're just sort of along for the ride and you trust the director or the author, in Murakami's case, to just sort of guide you through this image that he has in his head, it's totally worth your time. Another movie kind of like this one that you might enjoy if you're a Murakami fan is Paterson by Jim Jarmusch, which is a very similar concept about a guy who just thrives in routine and like sort of keeps him sane in a way. Like someone who doesn't stray far from what they're comfortable with out of like a necessity to keep them together, even though if they were to sort of go outside of their comfort zone, they might find happiness there, but they also might not. In that movie, Adam Driver plays a bus driver who is also a poet, and you just sort of see him also lead a really simple existence. But Perfect Days by Wim Wenders is just super special. It's sort of hard to put into words like why I resonated with it as much as I did. 2 hours and 15 minutes later of just watching a guy sort of like live his little life, I was like, I kind of want to watch that again, like immediately. And I think I will. It's not often that I watch a movie and like immediately move it into my Letterboxd like top 4, but like I definitely did with this one, and like I'll go up to bat for it in that way, no problem. If you've seen Perfect Days before, let me know in the comments what you thought of it. I think it's a masterpiece, to be honest. I'm going to recommend this movie to like everyone I know, probably for several years. So yeah, if you're a Murakami fan, give it a chance. It's on Hulu right now if you're in the US. I'm sure if you're anywhere else in the world, you can find it online somewhere. It's a beautiful watch. It's very simple. It's just really pretty to look at. It's very quiet. I think if you're someone who sort of enjoys non-traditional narratives in movies and just sort of like seeing someone live like a little slice of life thing, this movie's like definitely for you. So yeah, check it out. That's about it. I didn't really intend for this video to be very long. I just kind of want to tell people to watch this movie. So yeah, check back on the channel later for more things. I don't know what I'm doing next. I just put out a very lengthy video essay about music on TikTok, which I know is a little outside of the realm of what I normally put out on this channel, but I also think it's like the best thing I've ever written. So check that out too, please. Thank you. Yeah, see you next time. Buy some dried mangoes. They're delicious. And yeah, keep on staying cool. I certainly am not here in Phoenix. It is fucking gross out. So if you live not here, congratulations. Really good move on your part. Bye-bye.